Oh shit. Here we go again.
Oh, let me start. Okay, let me start. Let me get. you see out here the Falcons. All right, listen.
Bro, they're about to get the best coach
okay,
in history.
Shut up. I don't want him. Okay.
And then they're all right. I'll let you go.
Realistically, how many years does Belichick have left? And what's his true motivation to continue to coach?
To win, to break the record.
Yeah, he wants the win record, and that's it. He's not, and sure, I mean, winning another Super Bowl without Tom Brady, that would be a consolation prize. That would be just a bonus. Really, what he wants is the win record.
Yeah.
Was he 15 away?
Something like that. It's like,
I mean, one good season.
You wouldn't
season.
Hold on. You wouldn't be willing to sign a coach if he's going to get you 15 wins in one season and a shot at the Super Bowl
for 1 year.
Yeah, you sign him for a year.
Who's playing quarterback? That's the question.
They're gonna trade their 8th pick to the Bears for Justin Fields.
Okay, I mean that would make me a little bit more comfortable knowing that we're getting a young quarterback that is going to be able to grow into this offense and grow into these offensive weapons that we have.
Young but has experience. He's played.
Yeah. Okay, yes, but
so I like that.
But if I have learned anything as an Atlanta Falcons fan, it is to always expect the worst, no matter what. Yeah. No matter what it looks like, it will always end up being the worst thing that happens. So
you'll get Russell Wilson.
Listen, this is what's going to happen. We're going to sign Belichick to a 2-year deal, 3-year deal that he can opt out of. We're going to pay him an exorbitant amount of money because Arthur Blank is in love with Bill Belichick. And welcome to another episode of Real Conversations with Cozy and Murph. If you can't tell, my voice is very strained. It's been a very stressful week for me. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things in motion. I'm sure I'm not really ready to talk about it right now, but maybe next week we will dive deep into the happenings, the trials and tribulations of Cody Murphy's life. Not that anybody cares, but, whatever. Today we have a very special guest, one of my very closest friends, the closest thing I've ever had to a brother outside of, Vice City Brotherhood and all that. Bryan Carroll. He's my first cousin. I am one of the only boy of 7 children, and Bryan is like I said, he's the closest thing I've ever had to a brother growing up. He's very, very knowledgeable about football and sports. Coaches football at the middle school level, also helps out high school as well. So welcome aboard, Bryan, man. How's it going?
Going good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Long-time listener, but I get it. This is the first time on the show. So I'd like to see what you guys are doing on here.
Good to have you.
Appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a long time coming. I know I've talked to you a lot about coming on, but we appreciate you taking the time and having a little conversation with us. And I guess we'll just start quick and run through it because I know, we've kind of having a time crunch here. NFL playoffs. Let's talk. Let's reflect. What are your thoughts so far on what's going on in the NFL right now, Bryan?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people were shocked by what the Texans were able to do, right, and what the Packers were able to do to the Cowboys. Yes. But really, if you think about it, I mean, the Cowboys are kind of what we thought they were, right? Like they're going to beat bad teams, they're going to lose to good teams. I think I know that there's some blowout. Basically, the games this week are kind of projected as blowouts, right? 9-point, 6-point games.
Well, Chiefs and Buffalo. Chiefs and Bills.
That game is supposed to be close. But I think they're going to be a little bit closer than we thought. Especially if the Packers can show up and at least do something with the Niners.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, though. I mean, the 49ers have been a juggernaut all year. I know they had a little 3-game stretch where they lost, and they also kind of got shown up against the Ravens. But
yeah,
we all expect Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan. We all expect them to take care of business. But what a time it would be if Baker Mayfield was able to pull off the upset against
No, I can't hop on that one.
the powerhouse.
I want to see the Lions win it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I'm rooting for Baker, it's just I can't go against this Lions storyline. It's tough. It's tough.
Especially with Goff, he made it to the Super Bowl, didn't win it, gets traded.
Yeah.
Then take the team that's been in a drought. At least they won a playoff game to get to host 2 this year.
Mm. And they get to host a playoff game because the Cowboys got a second playoff game because the Cowboys got bounced. It's the ultimate ball don't lie scenario because of that ref blown call earlier.
That was ridiculous.
Oh my God, it's been a hell of a year in the NFL.
I think deep down we're all kind of rooting for Detroit. We all want to see the Cinderella story.
But I mean the Tampa stuff, that'd be a Cinderella story too. Honestly,
true. But I mean, you can't get behind. At the end of the day, if we're all realists and we're all being objectively, looking at it objectively, I mean, Detroit should win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fully expect the biggest game of the week for me is the one I mentioned just a minute ago, Buffalo and Kansas City. I mean, this is a matchup. Mahomes versus Allen. This is a matchup that's probably going to, for the next decade, it's probably going to be just a fixture. It's probably the next Brady Manning. So I'm really interested to see what Buffalo is able to do. I know they come in as a 3-point favorite, which is really surprising, but because of the Kansas City's pedigree, what are the keys to success for Buffalo coming into this next game?
So the number one thing, remember back whenever they lost in overtime, right? The biggest thing that they were able to do was to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Their offense was explosive, but they held him to 60, 70 plays for the game. So if they're able to run the football and control the game, basically, you're at home, so control the game.
Play good defense.
Yeah.
Special teams are going to be huge in this game. I feel like, field position. It's 2 meeting of the minds. You have Andy Reid, one of the best offensive coaches in the history of the NFL, going against one of today's best defensive-minded coaches in Sean McDermott. He's got the power of Al-Qaeda behind him. I praise Allah, Allahu Akbar, all that shit. So no offense to all my Christian brethren, but it's gonna be a war. I don't know what the weather. I haven't looked at the weather forecast, but I think
is that the right word to say? War. It's gonna be a war.
I mean, hey, double entendre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know. Cozy mentioned last week. They're both cold weather teams, so the weather really shouldn't be too much of a factor.
No.
But I think. I know Baltimore is the favorite, looking at it, just looking on paper, Baltimore is the favorite. But traditionally speaking, historically speaking, the Bills and the Chiefs have been there, year in and year out for the last 5 years, since Mahomes and Allen has been in the league. So I think that is really the biggest game for me this coming up weekend. Just to end this segment, what is your Super Bowl prediction? Who's going to make it coming out of NFC, coming out of the AFC, and what do you think the result is? Who are we crowning champion? Who's lifting up the Lombardi Trophy at the end of this season?
Oh man, I can't pick against the Niners, man. I just think that they're ridiculous. Like they can play defense, they can play offense, they can run the ball. You want to throw it, they got every piece of the puzzle. And the team that they're going to play against, this is going to be people aren't going to like this. I think they're going to play the Chiefs.
The script writers, it would play in their favor. They, like I said, we've talked about this multiple times on this podcast, but they are the New England Patriots 2.0. They do get the benefit of the doubt. It seems like in every situation, whether it's somebody's helmet falling apart, somebody taking their helmet off on the field, whether it's a lousy roughing the passer call, It just seems like the momentum just is in their favor at all points in the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it too is that they like quarterback wise, Josh Allen has never done it, right? Like he's made it to this spot and then he hasn't able to get past it. Lamar Jackson has one playoff win in his career, and he's missed the last two because he got hurt. So, and then we have then you have the Texans. I mean, at some point the Magic's got to run out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
JD, what's your thoughts? You're smiling. I know you want to say something.
Like, I know, I agree with that saying. Like, these guys haven't done it, but nobody does it until they do it that first time. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's Josh Allen's turn. It's either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson's turn. And I don't know. Obviously, I'm big into the NFL scriptwriter stuff. I don't think they're going to give another one to Mahomes. I don't think Mahomes has got the squad to do it. I don't think the offensive firepower can hold up with some of these teams. Obviously, their defense is good under Spagnuolo, but I don't see him going to the
I tend to agree with what you're saying, Cozy. I feel like the woes at the wide receiver position for Kansas City is really going to come in to bite them in the ass at some point. I don't know when, I don't know where, but there's been crucial drops. I don't
like betting against Mahomes. Obviously, he's the best in the game, probably the best to ever play the position, but he can't. I mean, even when he hits guys,
he can't make people catch the ball. He can't make them catch.
It's just tough. I don't want to bet against him, but I have a feeling the Bills get him this weekend.
I'm betting against him this week.
If the Chiefs win this game this weekend, you might as well just stick them in the Super Bowl. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
So if the Bills lose, can we stop comparing Josh Allen to Patrick Mahomes, please?
I knew it was coming. I knew exactly.
Oh, he's 0-4. He's 0-4 against these top quarterbacks. And it's not all on him, but you got to win them at some point.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough thing to put yourself in. I don't know how to like get this. We've said it in the past. When Josh Allen is good, he's right there with the Mahomes type player. But he also has his bottoms when he's the worst quarterback in the league. He throws 3-4 interceptions in a game. So I think consistency is key, and if you're 0-4 against the best in the game, then you're probably not in that same conversation.
To me, for me, the turnovers are key. You have to stop turning the ball over at some point, somewhere.
He didn't have a pick last week. So
what was that? Was that the first week in the whole season? That's crazy. But I think if you're right. If the Chiefs win this weekend, you might as well put them in the Super Bowl. But I think if the Bills are able to get past this next week, I think they have a legitimate shot to beat Baltimore in Baltimore. Yeah. Just because of the style of play. And I know Lamar is exhilarating and exciting and is likely the MVP. And I like Lamar, and I like, I like Baltimore as an organization. But it just feels like the Bills, man. It feels like the Bills are there. And who knows? I'm the fade god. We all know. So the Bills will probably lose this weekend. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? So, all right. That's enough on the NFL playoffs. We'll talk next. We'll talk a little bit Kentucky football because me and Bryan are really adamant Kentucky football fans. Been watching the Cats for years and years since I was a child. And we've had our ups and downs, and me and Bryan have had our back and forths. But what is the state of Kentucky football moving forward next year and in the following years? What are your thoughts?
So as a Kentucky football fan, right? Like we have to understand where we're at in the order of how things work for college football. So if I say, hey, we're going to have a good season, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go undefeated or one loss and all that stuff. But they have brought in some talented players in the transfer portal. They have, for the first time I think ever. They got the top 5 players in the state all to come to Kentucky.
That's
huge.
They're doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Everything that I've seen on this quarterback that they brought in is good, and I think it works in the offense. Yeah, I think it works in the offense because he's a pocket passer, but he is, he can get out and run from, if he has to, basically. Um, the 2 wide receivers they picked up, the kid out of Texas A&M and the one out of North Texas. Kid out of North Texas is a 1,000-yard receiver, which I know he's playing out of North Texas, but still he's supposed to be legit.
That's a big milestone.
And you're pairing him with some of the receivers that they already have.
Do we have question? Do we have Dane Key coming back? Because I know there had been some speculation about him entering the transfer portal and all that.
So as far as I know, he is coming back, right? Because the portal's closed now, right? With the exception of the Alabama players, it's closed. So I think he's coming back. And Walker didn't leave either, which I thought he might.
Yeah, that's huge for Kentucky because I figured he. I mean, you just look at him; he's got an NFL body. Walker does, and he's got the talent. I just think he kind of lacks the discipline sometimes, and and that's my biggest point moving forward is coaching and discipline for this Kentucky football team. We've finally, we've got the talent to compete in the SEC. For so many years, we just couldn't compete with the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Georgias. Even Ole Miss. We struggled against Ole Miss for a lot of years. So I just think we have to fall back on our training, and we really need Stoops and that coaching staff to hammer down. Guys, if you just play good, disciplined football and do your job, we will win 8-9 games. And now in the new college football, the playoff format, that's good enough to make it in. And hey, football, this is why football is my favorite sport, because it's one game for all the marbles. So it's winning in advance. That's what we love about the college level. So I think we really have a chance to make some noise in the SEC, even though we are adding Oklahoma and Texas. It kind of opens the door. This new 12-team format kind of opens the door for these mid-level tier teams, traditionally mid-level tier teams.
Yeah, I think that we're at a crossroad, right? Like you're either going to be one of those, a team that's, hey, you're going to make a bowl game, which is great. Everybody likes making bowl games, or you can start competing, like legitimately competing. Saban just left. Adding Texas and Oklahoma, it makes the SEC more difficult schedule. But when their schedule came out, you got to play Tennessee, you got to play Florida, got to play Georgia. And I think Texas is on Kentucky's side, and they're tough games and stuff. But There was only one game that I watched this year where I was like, man, we couldn't compete. Like, we just didn't have it. And that was the Georgia game.
Oh, well, Bama, it was 21-0 in the first quarter.
I forgot about the Bama game. That's true. Bama too. So, but Bama's got a lot of kids leaving.
Bama's got a retool.
True.
So, they're not necessarily as scary until we see what this guy can do. This new coach can do as far as bringing in talent, because a lot of his guys at Washington were transfers. Yeah. And so that's a different ball game, bringing in transfers and actually having to recruit.
Yeah.
True that.
I think they're going to struggle in their first year. Granted, struggle for Alabama is probably still a 9-win season, but they got a tough schedule too. Yeah, they got a tough schedule. A lot of teams coming in. Same for the, all these rebranding and repositionings of programs and stuff. It's going to be this is the time to get somebody, though. Is this whole movement of conferences and stuff, all this team realignment and stuff. If you're going to be good, now's the time to do it, Kentucky, because teams are everywhere with guys leaving, guys coming in. It's time to solidify. And I think it plays back to you guys winning those guys in state. Granted, they're probably coming to Kentucky because it's a D1 doorway into wherever they want to go. They play good at Kentucky, they can leave. But if Kentucky can take advantage and prove that they're a successful program in the SEC, then you guys are opening up a platform. Like, say you guys get into the playoffs this next year, it makes your guys' team and program more desirable. It's like, hey, we got a shot. You know what I'm saying? If you come in third in the SEC, fourth, you got a real chance.
On the flip side of that token, that kind of makes me a little bit worried, because Kentucky isn't a blue blood when it comes to football. We're not a blue chip program. So what does that mean for the programs like Kentucky? Does that make them a stepping stone with this new transfer portal rules? I come in at Kentucky, I show out at Kentucky, maybe not win a national championship, but then I catch the eye of a Georgia, of an Ohio State, of a Michigan, and now they're wanting me to go transfer there. So that's my worry. Is I don't want, with all the talent coming in for Kentucky, we do have a really big upside, a really high ceiling, but at the same time, like, it could be Kentucky. Programs like Kentucky are now the new JUCOs because of the flexibility of the players. So that is one concern that kind of comes to mind with that, and just college football as a whole moving forward. But I mean, if that's the way the game evolves, that's the way the game evolves. You got to find a way to keep up. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
I think it could be a little bit of both, right? Like, you're going to get some kids that come in, show out, decide to leave to go play. But at the same time, you also are going to get people who are backup quarterbacks at Georgia that, think they're ready to get their shot, and so then they transfer in, or,
Well, look at the Kyle McCords, look at the Dylan Gabriels, the Cam Wards of college football. I mean, those guys were all starters, and they're all transferring. And it's not like they didn't play for high key teams. I mean, McCord's coming out of Ohio State. You've got Dylan Gabriel coming out of Oklahoma. So,
I think that the McCord one, he was told that they're about to bring somebody in.
True.
So whether it's the freshman or transfer, I think that they might be the ones that are getting the least amount of love when it comes to this offseason, that they've brought. Not only talent, but the OC,
guys.
The OC they just brought in.
Oh yeah, Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien, dude, offensive coordinator.
I'm a Ohio State guy. I'm telling you, we reloaded, bringing back everybody. It's almost the same scenario that Michigan did this last year. Is bringing everybody back, running it, going and get your guys, bring them in. I think we'll be all right. I do worry about Bill O'Brien because he's had his struggles, but an NFL guy, I think him and the Patriots style of living, he might bring something to Ohio State that we've been missing. Is a little bit of a winning mentality.
I think the biggest thing for Ohio State is that defense, man. That defense is about to be insane. You've got JT. I can't even pronounce his name. JTT.
Just say, yeah.
JTT, you've got him coming back. You've got multiple starters coming back for that defense. So I think that is going to be really the driving force for Ohio State this coming up year.
Their quarterback's nice too. I don't know how much Kansas State football you watched, but I saw some clips on him too. He's a pretty
good little player.
He's kind of like not to crown it yet, but he's kind of looks like a Josh Allen out there. Big, fast, tall, can throw it.
Yeah. I think in the right system, he plays to an NFL style. He's definitely. I mean, I have my question marks about, but it's the same thing. You have question marks with Josh Allen. He's just how are we going to develop him, push him into that next level. So,
all right. I mean, I think that's a pretty good caveat into our next topic. Just the overall state of the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be college or NFL. Just kind of like the way the game is evolving. Just football as a whole. Like what we've got plenty of issues that we could talk about. My main thing is the refereeing. I think that's a really big thing. The refereeing has been really bad, especially with sports gambling becoming a bigger factor. I think domed stadiums versus open air stadiums. I think that's a big issue that football, especially the NFL, is going to have to address moving forward. And just the transfer portal and giving power now, autonomy back to the players, to where they get paid to play NIL. They get multiple transfers, and it's just now it seems like instead of the university and the coaches having the control, it seems like the players now can really decide what they want to do with their future, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you have to find a balance there, because you can't go too much in one direction or the other. I think we have to find a balance somewhere.
So the officiating thing is the one that kind confuses me the most because the XFL. Did you all watch the XFL seasons?
Not a big XFL guy. No.
The way that they do it is the best that I've seen at any level. They have a guy who's watching the game, which I know it can't just be like because they only have one game on at a time, so he can watch it but he literally will tell the official if it's a bad call, he will tell him like, no, that's not don't pick it, wave it off.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's not, because he can see all the angles and all that stuff. So rather than it being like, oh, well, we weren't sure if it was a pass interference or not, don't worry, the guy in the eye in the sky will tell you. He'll call down to you and let you know it was pass interference.
And but
yeah, I mean, it's bad, man. It's just like missing obvious calls,
and especially at the NFL level. You expect them to be, that's the highest level in the world, and you would expect them to be more on point than anybody else. But I think it's kind of like in baseball, you have the minor leagues, and they use the minor leagues as kind of an experimental league to try out these new rules before they implement them, in the major leagues. So I feel like the XFL it's the United Football League now. I think that's
because they combined with the USFL, right?
Right, and I think that's gonna kind of be a just like an experimental level where they try out these new things. And I think definitely having a third party involved where you can kind of objectively look at it all would be a huge step forward for professional NFL football.
Yeah, opinion calls are what they are, right? Like, oh, I didn't think it was enough to be PI or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But you like the whole thing with the Lions, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's inexcusable.
Which is why his crew won't be in the postseason. Oh,
Good.
Because of that, because of the Eagles game, and because of the Kansas City game where they missed the pass interference on Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Those three reasons will be the reasons why they're not in the playoffs, why they didn't get to do the playoffs.
The Eagles-Dolphins games where there was 11
no penalties against Philadelphia.
Yeah. Hey, the cleanest game ever played. Oh man!
If anybody wants to share thoughts on the Eagles, I'm not. I'm done expressing emotions about the
Eagles. The college thing is a thing that is interesting to me too, because the transfer portal stuff, I think they should be. So I'm okay with them being allowed to transfer anytime, right? I don't care how many you can play at 4 different schools, right? I'm good with it. But you got we're not talking about 17-year-olds. You got to be held accountable too. So that means you can't, unless you're actually injured, then part of your NIL deal means that you have to play in the bowl game. If you don't play in the bowl game, you lose money off of that because you didn't play the full games. There has to be some kind of contract or whatever where they agree for, hey, I'm here for a season, and then I'm good with them transferring, but I feel like there's not enough. It's kind of gray right now as far as the NIL stuff and all that stuff, and it just needs to be settled.
They're still trying to work out the details, and I think it's, because you have a lot of, opinions out there, but I think for a lot of, people of our generation, we appreciate the fact that these people do have autonomy over where they go and where they play. And it's kind of the older generation that's like, well, they made a commitment. They gotta follow it out, And so I think it's good though that we're trying out all these new things, and then in the future we can try to mitigate that and legislate out what the fair and equal balance is between those two opposing, schools of thought.
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, the people who really get mad about a kid transferring is because they're transferring from their team and they're really good, and now they're mad that they're going to go play at a better school or at a different school. So, whatever, man. You want to go play somewhere else, go play somewhere else. I can tell you this, kids change schools in high school too and stuff. And if you leave because you couldn't get the spot, right? Either that kid that's in front of you is for college purposes, is an NFL player, or, you need to go play somewhere else, and that's okay. But there's also something to be said about, sticking it out and trying to fight for your spot. Like the kid at Georgia, he sat behind Stetson Bennett for 3 years.
And still never got his, and still never,
You know, he got to play this year, and he's coming back for one more season.
I think it all really depends on your personality and really your upbringing, you know. And I think it's important to have that sense of commitment, but also, like, you know, you got to do what's best for you, too.
Well, there's just nothing that says that if you transfer, then that means you're not ready for the NFL. If you stay, then that means that you're not ready for, like, you know what I mean? Because guys who have played 4 years at one school has been successful, and guys that have transferred have been successful. So there's no like, it's just, you know, oh, you don't have the stomach to stay. Like, that's so silly.
That's
what
so
are we talking
old
about?
school, man.
What are we
so
talking
old
about?
School. Yeah.
Asinine, yeah.
So I think it's a really, you know, like a cutting edge conversation that's really on the forefront of all the changes coming to the college game, and you have the changing of the guard when it comes to just coaches moving around and all that. So I think that's a really interesting conversation to have. We've run through a lot of these topics. I got two more to really broach. I think we talk about the coaching carousel when it comes to NFL. We'll talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll finish up with a little UK basketball chat, and then we'll get out of here, okay?
Okay. All right.
So let me start, okay? Let me start. Let me get – you see out here the Falcons, all right? Listen,
they're about to get the best coach
okay?
in history.
Shut up. I don't want him, okay?
And then they're – all right. I'll let you go.
Realistically, how many years does Belichick have left? And what's his true motivation to continue to coach?
To win, to break the record.
Yeah, he wants the win record, and that's it. He's not, and sure, I mean, winning another Super Bowl without Tom Brady, that would be a consolation prize. That would be just a bonus. Really, what he wants is the win record.
Yeah.
What is he, 15 away?
Something like that. It's like,
I mean, one good season.
You wouldn't
season.
Hold on. You wouldn't be willing to sign a coach if he's going to get you 15 wins in one season and a shot at the Super Bowl
for 1 year.
Yeah, you sign him for a year.
Who's playing quarterback? That's the question.
They're going to trade their 8th pick to the Bears for Justin Fields.
Okay, I mean that would make me a little bit more comfortable knowing that we're getting a young quarterback that is going to be able to grow into this offense and grow into these offensive weapons that we have.
Young but has experience. He's played.
Yeah. Okay, yes, but
so I like that.
But if I have learned anything as an Atlanta Falcons fan, it is to always expect the worst, no matter what. Yeah. No matter what it looks like, it will always end up being the worst thing that happens. So
you'll get Russell Wilson.
Listen, this is what's going to happen. We're going to sign Belichick to a 2-year deal, 3-year deal that he can opt out of. We're going to pay him an exorbitant amount of money because Arthur Blank is in love with Bill Belichick, and because he whooped his fucking tail in the Super Bowl, biggest comeback of all time. And then we're going to trade for Kirk Cousins, a 38-year-old coming off an Achilles injury.
He's a free agent.
Okay, well then we'll sign him for $50 million on a 2-year deal. Okay. And then we're going to compete. We might be good for the next two to 3 years. That, you know, who knows? We might win 15 games, 10, 12, 15 games. Who knows? But then what's going to happen is Belichick's going to be 75, 78, however old he is. Kirk Cousins is going to be 40. They're going to both retire the same year. And then we're going to be dog shit for the next 10 years because we have nothing in place.
At least you got that.
That's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear.
So I'm not a Falcons fan. I think they signed Belichick, and they don't think they're going to get Daniels because I think that the Patriots are going to take him, and so they trade the Bears their 8th pick for Justin Fields.
I don't know. It makes me really nervous seeing all this stuff about Belichick to the Falcons and all that. I really just don't like it. And I know a lot of the fan base agrees with me. And maybe that's just my pessimistic view because I'm kind of jaded still from that 2017 Super Bowl. I don't know. But like I said, I always expect the worst and I'm always just looking for something to be negative about. And that's a character flaw on me. Okay. And I'm sorry. But it's been a long 25 years for me, and it is what it is. Now,
well, think about it. You got Justin Fields, Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and you're running under Bill Belichick, who probably brings in Matt Patricia to run his offense.
Oh, we saw how that worked out in Philly. I mean, shit.
You don't think that what's his name? The guy that got fired from Vegas. You don't think he's gonna come in and be the OC?
They'll bring in
He's actually a good OC.
Oh
He's a good OC. He's a good OC. He just can't be a head coach because nobody respects him. But he's a good OC.
Is he a good OC, or did he have Tom Brady? I mean, it's that same conversation. Look at what he did without Tom Brady. Nothing.
That's true.
All right, let's move on from Atlanta. Let's talk about some of these other coaching positions coming open. You've got Carolina. You've got
nobody wants to go there.
You've got Tennessee. You've got Washington. Vegas just announced today that they're finalizing a deal for Antonio Pierce, which good for them, and that's the right decision. That's what needs to happen. I mean, Antonio Pierce deserves that job. He did a hell of a job as the interim. So. Then you've got LA Chargers, which is a really desirable job just simply because of Justin Herbert and, his ability as a quarterback. So I know Jim Harbaugh has been making his rounds with professional teams. I think it's a pretty much done deal. Harbaugh's in the NFL next year. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's pretty much a done deal at this point.
Yeah, all of his players are leaving Michigan. I think he's leaving.
I'd love to see him in LA.
So if you are head coach material, which means like I'm saying, like you're interviewing for multiple positions at different places, why on earth would you want to go to the Titans or the Panthers? Unless the Panthers owner is going to pay you a stupid amount of money.
Which he probably
their cap is terrible. Would. They don't have picks. Their roster's not good.
Garbage.
Like
you gotta get a paycheck somehow, dude.
I know, but like I don't know. I would almost rather be an OC again.
It'll kill your career. It could kill your career, literally. Think about if Brian Johnson takes his job from Philadelphia, he goes to the Panthers because I've seen it interviewed. He goes there, has a shit year. He'll never do anything in the league ever again. He may have a chance to.
Well, also you
think he's gonna leave Philly?
Oh, yeah. Philly won't let him back in the building.
No, their offense was atrocious. Did you watch the last 7 weeks of the
season?
That's
what I'm saying. Why would he? Who's going to hire him as a head coach if their offense was bad?
They just interviewed him in
Carolina.
For Tennessee and Carolina. Both interviewed him.
They're going to get the scraps of whoever's left.
Also, you got to think, you're tying, as a head coach, you're tying your future to Bryce Young, which there's been a lot of questions about, his viability in the league. So I think you really got to think about that. If it comes down to Carolina versus Tennessee, I'm going Tennessee just simply because of Will Levis and the culture. I
don't even know that the Bryce
Tennessee
Young
Titans.
stuff is fair.
It's not.
His best receiver is Adam Thielen.
It's not.
Like, what do we talk?
DJ Shark.
He's listen, he does not, there's not a number one receiver on that team. And like Adam Thielen is like probably a number two on a decent team. And then outside of that, all the rest of those guys are threes at best.
At best, yeah.
Right. So
he has Miles Sanders who can't carry for more than 2 yards a carry. Their one highlight is probably Chuba Hubbard. And that's about the only thing they've got on that team.
They overpaid Miles Sanders because Miles Sanders is a zone runner. So you can't go under center with a zone running back and expect him to do what he doesn't do. Like that's just not the style of play that he runs.
Right.
Yep.
So
I think the next coaching hire in the draft is going to be huge for Carolina. But at the end of the day, I'm a Falcons fan, so fuck Carolina.
Well, and remember, nobody's been able to interview the Lions OC in person yet because you have to wait till after this week.
That's who I want in Atlanta. I want Ben Johnson. I think he if you look at the way that the league is trending, offensive coaches do so much better than defensive coaches, especially when you have you're going to have a young quarterback. More than likely Atlanta's going to end up drafting somebody or trading for Fields. So
yeah, I think defensive coaches, it's got to be a defensive like
Team.
character coach. Well, not like so the Texans are defensive coach and their offense is ridiculous. Well, what is he has his hands off on the offense. He doesn't call the defense, and it's a character. It's all about like making sure that we're doing the right stuff, having the right mindset.
But I also think that's kind of what Sirianni thrived on for last year. I think that's why Sirianni.
Their biggest problem is the fact that they constantly lined up and snapped the ball without any motion. You cannot do that at any high level in high level college or in the NFL because you're letting the defense know who they got and who's where. So it makes it easier to play help over top with safeties on the fast receivers and leave people open who aren't as good as the fast receivers.
Everything was long developing. It's all dog shit, bro. Everything was on this.
Every good offense has pre-snap motions.
Nothing over the middle. It was all long developing routes to the sidelines, making Jalen Hurts throw these over the shoulder throws, bubble screens, no RPO, nothing action over the middle. There was nothing. There's nothing. Dog shit offense. Fuck Brian Johnson. Don't get me started.
Every good offense runs pre-snap motions. Like
in today's NFL, yeah, absolutely, I agree. So, good conversation about the coaching carousel. It's going to be really interesting to see where where the chips land. It's going to be. I told Cozy a couple weeks ago. I said, I know we probably mentioned it on the podcast, but this is going to be a generation-defining offseason for a lot of these teams. We're going to look back and say, "Wow, the 2024 offseason was huge for so many teams." College,
I think it could change divisions. I mean, if Harbaugh goes to the Chargers and now Mahomes isn't guaranteed to win that division, if what if Johnson from the Lions goes to like Washington and now the Eagles have to play like the Washington's good, so now there's 3 playoff teams in that division that are like good, and now the Cowboys are looking at themselves like, we got Mike McDaniel, or we got Mike.
Who's really scared of an NFC East team in the playoffs? I mean, look at what happened this year. I mean, nobody. I don't think anybody's scared of Dallas.
They've got the pieces and the money.
I know, but I'm saying like you don't know. You haven't seen this coach in the postseason.
That's true.
Yet.
That's
and
true.
the Lions' offense was humming last week.
That's true.
Until like
pretty much any comment at this point is all speculation. We just have to see what we're like I said where the chips land. All right, last topic. Let's talk a little bit of UK basketball and then we'll get out of here. We're at 40 minutes right now, so I figure we'll do 5-10 minutes and then we'll get out of here and have a good rest of the day. So this is the most excited I've been for UK basketball.
It's fun to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's not that they don't have issues. We have, when I say we, I mean Kentucky basketball. There is some issues that need to be addressed. Rebounding, absolutely atrocious. We get out-rebounded every game. We have 2 7-footers on that we can play, and still somehow we get out-rebounded. And that's just an effort thing,
I think also, the 2 7-footers are a little soft right now.
Exactly.
They're coming out of high school, so.
Well, Onyaso is a sophomore, so he does have a little bit of experience. But also the defense is absolutely terrible as well. We have so much trouble defending, staying in front, cutting off the driving lanes. It seems like we get beat off the dribble, and it's just either a layup or a dish for a wide open shot. And we have to figure out a way to stay in front of these offenses.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason I'm not excusing why, but part of the reason why once they get beat off, they're beat off the dribble. They're like, all right, we're going on offense here. Like, all right, fine, give me the ball back. We're gonna go score real quick. So, and the biggest thing for them is the 3 players. The 3 players coming off the bench are my favorite players to watch. Reed Shepherd. I love watching Thiero. He's everywhere. Like, he can only play so many minutes at a time because he's all over the place the whole time that he's playing. And then I forgot the other kid's name.
Dillingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dillingham. He's a dog.
Dillingham, he's a little bit wild for my taste, but I think that's just because he's young. He's one of those kids that, growing up, the coach just said, hey, if you're open, shoot the damn thing, like no matter where you're at in the court, dude, just shoot it and we'll live with the result. And so I think, he's kind of got that maverick type of mentality when it comes to shot selection. I'd like to see.
I think Cal likes that too. Like Cal's been one of those coaches that says, shoot it.
I'd like to see him reining in just a little bit though, especially in late game situations. But to me, this team stands out. Our style, we play like an NBA team. If we're not scoring the ball, we don't have a shot in hell. You know what I mean? And if we're not getting the ball out in transition, we don't have a shot in hell. If it comes down to a half court set, if it comes down to 2-3 possessions at the end of the game in a half court set, we're screwed. I mean, just straight up. I'm just being brutally honest. That's how I feel. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they'll improve, but it just really makes me nervous come March that our rebounding is lackluster, our defense is lackluster, and our half-court sets are also lackluster. Those are 3 phases of the game that are really, really important to good teams coming down the stretch in March. And it's just something that Calipari needs to figure out. We're still having trouble with rotations as far as like subbing guys in and out, especially towards the end of the game. But I am excited to see what we can accomplish because I do think this team has the potential to at least make to the Final Four, if not the national championship, and also win it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think rebounding is probably number one on my book, just because like the wild threes and stuff that you were talking about. Well, if it's 50-50 that you're going to get the rebound off of it and get another shot at it, then I'll take my chances. But you got to be better rebounders in order for that to work. Because you coming down and taking a 3 with 10 seconds off the shot clock is not going to be helpful if we can't rebound.
Right. So, well,
y'all got Georgia tomorrow or next game.
I totally expect to beat Georgia. I don't think we should have lost to A&M, but
but they were going crazy. They were hitting everything.
And that's the thing, man. Kentucky, it seems like anybody who plays Kentucky, they have the best shooting night of their life. Like they'll never shoot better than that night in their life. So
yeah, but I'd almost rather them take some lumps on the way.
Yeah, battle tested. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of where I stand with UK basketball. I know there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast who are big UK fans. So I just wanted to have a little chit chat about that. Other than that, I really don't have anything else. Let
me ask this before you finish it off.
Okay.
Is this like do or die for Calipari? It's like make a Final Four or Elite Eight or hit the road.
I think if you have
they're going to fire Cal?
I don't think they'll fire Cal. I think he'll move on.
If they have a first or second round exit, I think we have to really, really think hard about the future, does that mean firing Calipari? Maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. I don't know. But that is not the standard, okay? That is not the standard at Kentucky. It is Elite Eight, Final Four, national championship or bust every single year. Just like at Ohio State, I know you understand this, Cozy. Just like at Ohio State, every single year it is college playoff or bust every single year.
Beat Michigan or bust.
Yeah, so I think that they gotta. Yes, with the exception of if you play against a team and they come out and they're shooting 80%. Or something crazy, and you're like, man, like, would you like, you take them to OT or something, and you're like, all right, like, what do you want me to do? They're hitting threes in people's faces and stuff. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I think they definitely have to perform.
Yeah,
and ultimately,
if he struggled or if the team was a first or second round, I can see him stepping out of the head coach role, moving up into like a special role where he's more or less just like, you bring the recruits in, meet with Calipari, and send them down to the new head coach or something.
I think the biggest appeal for Calipari is he's been a pipeline for the NBA. Yeah. So, ultimately, it's all going to fall back on the coach, though. It doesn't matter. You can't make players hit shots. You can't make players hit free throws. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the coach's responsibility to win. Yeah. And that's just the harsh reality of it. So we'll see what happens come March. I think, like I said, I think Kentucky has a real shot to make it deep into the tournament. But yeah, other than that, man, I don't have anything else. Cozy, Bryan, you have any closing thoughts?
Appreciate you, Bryan. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. No, I'm excited for these games. I think there's going to be some upsets this weekend.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's going to be some upsets.
Yeah,
I think there's going to be a real shocker this weekend that people aren't expecting it. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody's going to do it. Somebody.
All right, last question. Last question here, Bryan. Do you have a bet, a lock, anything? I know I'm kind of springing it on you and putting you on the spot. Is there anything that I could sit here and put my fucking mortgage on that you think is going to happen this weekend?
Ooh, a lock.
It's David Montgomery anytime touchdown.
All right. Well, I mean, I do this every week. I make my bets for the games and stuff. One that I promise you right now, that as long as his trend is going to be the same as it has been, I'm going to take Rice's receiving yards.
Oh, yeah.
Because
over?
The Bills, yeah, over. Because the Bills corners are not, they're good, but they're not elite. They're better at safety. Yeah. He's an outside threat, and the safeties can't help because they got to play on Travis Kelce. Yep. And he had a breakout game last week. I think he's going to have another one this week.
All right, man. Well, whenever I get foreclosed on my house, we're going to move in with you. So you guys got room. All right, guys. Good episode. That. We'll have this out. We'll probably put it on the Patreon or something. I don't know. But yeah, man. Thank you, Bryan, for coming on. Cozy. Been a pleasure. Another fine episode. And
a banger.
That's about it, guys. Follow us on all our socials. If you haven't figured out where to find us, well, then just don't find us. How about that? All right, guys. Peace out.
Comment, subscribe.
Peace. See ya.
No, you say peace.